In other news, legislation is moving through the British Parliament aimed at eventually phasing out smoking in the UK. The bill would criminalise the sale of cigarettes to anyone born from 2009 onwards. If enacted, it would be the world's first such law. But the move has been controversial, as Julia Chapman reports.
While the dangers of smoking have long been known, an end to the practice could now be in sight. Experts say the key to stubbing out smoking is making sure people don't start. More than 80% of British smokers took up the habit before their 20th birthday.
There is nothing else that's freely available to be sold on the market that kills 2 in 3 people if they use it as the manufacturer intends, and that addicts people, often in childhood, certainly when they are very young. And what we know is that from the first cigarettes, about half of people will go on to be long-term smokers. So really the only free choice that a consumer has is to have that first cigarette. And after that, people become addicted to something that will dramatically shorten their life and curtail their life chances.
Britain's proposed legislation would gradually raise the age at which people can buy cigarettes. It won't criminalise smoking itself, but the sale of tobacco. The idea is based on a policy from New Zealand, which was reversed before it was implemented after a change of government.
The prevalence of smoking in the UK is falling naturally, but a study by University College London found the pace of that decline has almost ground to a halt.
Smoking is estimated to cost the UK more than $20 billion annually in healthcare costs and lost productivity. Phasing it out is expected to more than compensate for lost tax revenue from the tobacco industry. But the bill faces significant opposition, even from within the ruling Conservative Party. Some members of Parliament are worried about giving different rights to those born a day apart. Others say it's a question of choice.
Whether we have the right to smoke at all in private, where we choose, is something which I think is up to us and not the state. I think that we risk creating a huge philosophical as well as practical problem, which will lead undoubtedly to further rights creep as the years go by, because it is likely that the health lobby, the interventionist lobby, as the Shadow Secretary of State put it in his speech, will use this as a logic which will allow them to move into other fields.
Lobby groups claim Britain's measures will lead to an increase in illicit cigarette trade. But proponents say there's no evidence to support that claim, unlike the data linked to an outright ban.
It's essentially just about having responsible policy in terms of when you ban a product outright, there is an increased risk then of unintended consequences such as fueling the illicit trade. In terms of tobacco bans, we haven't seen a lot of outright bans, but an example we did see was in South Africa during the COVID crisis, and research has indicated there was an increase in illicit trade.
The bill also addresses vaping, restricting flavours, packaging and marketing of vapes. It doesn't phase out the practice because vapes don't contain tobacco. But its uptake amongst children is concerning public health officials. Although there is limited data on the health impacts of vaping, it's feared to stunt lung and brain development and may act as a gateway to smoking. The government hopes its policy will create a smoke-free generation by 2040, paving the way for the practice to vanish in a puff of smoke. Julia Chapman, CNA, London.